We're here. We did it.
We're back another week.
Another week live. It is Rule of Two, and boy, do we have stuff to talk about because we have some people out there that, Benioff and Weiss. You might have heard of a little show called Game of Thrones.
I'm going to jump in. Sorry. I'm going to jump in with some housekeeping.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it when you jump in.
Yeah, a little housekeeping.
Okay.
So I am going on an away mission.
Mm-hmm. You sure are.
Next Monday.
Okay.
Okay, so that means that I won't be on Rule of Two for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks, man? Come on.
2 weeks. But I am going to try to find some fellow Sith marauders to come in and fill in.
Some Inquisitors?
Some other folks that are like deep into Star Wars like we are, that aren't afraid to take a little bit of a stroll down the dark side.
I like it.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities.
Some might consider unnatural.
Natural, yeah. So
I love that line.
Get ready for that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to have a new voice in here.
Yeah.
2 weeks. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. And that's pretty much it.
Well, we have the episode army here, the episode 3 army I'm seeing. We are going live. It is Mondays now. Thank you for joining us. Rule of Two has moved to Mondays. We're doing this thing live.
For now, yeah.
For now, we're doing it. I like everybody showing up here. If you want to drop some questions in there, the live chat, we will be monitoring it, but we will be talking. We will be talking about Star Wars, of course. But the big news really that we wanted to discuss is this idea if Benioff and Weiss are, in fact, a good choice and a good fit for Star Wars.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. You want to just get right into it? Do you have more that you want to say? Because news out there in the Star Wars world. Let me get your take on this. I'll give a little news.
Yeah.
John Williams has composed 25 minutes of Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, okay.
And he said that he likes it. He said he's seen a rough cut, and then he likes it. John Williams.
But John Williams is doing the whole score.
Doing the whole score.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But he's starting to. I bet he's spotting. I bet they're doing a lot of spotting sessions.
It just feels like it's so late into the game for him to only get 25 minutes in.
Well, that's why I'm saying he's doing spotting sessions right now. He's probably sitting with JJ going, okay, we're going to put music here, we're going to put music there, maybe a little here, maybe a little Rey's theme here, a little Leia's theme here. That's what I think's happening. I'm not worried. That's
one thing that I've always said is my favorite thing about Last Jedi. It is like I absolutely loved the score of Last Jedi.
One of the best Star Wars scores, I would say. Yeah. I'm glad. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the news out there. But, everybody's talking about Benioff and Weiss. And, we've heard mixed things out there about Rian Johnson's trilogy, supposed trilogy. So we got a packed episode that we can get into. You want to do it?
Let's do it.
Hey, here we go then. It's Rule of Two. And it's episode 40.
Rise.
That's right. You heard it there. It's episode 40, Rule of Two, coming into you live right now on Collider Video and on, if you're getting it at home, later on PodcastOne's Jedi Council feed. Thanks for joining us. As always, I'm Marc Yodi Reilly, sometimes known as Darth Rylus. And over there is Marc Sidious, the Grand Sith of them all. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm a little tired. My niece ran me ragged, but, that's what nieces do when you're the coolest uncle in the world.
Yeah. Look, I think that there's a lot to sort of unpack here, a lot of speculation to do. Because we're entering this final lap, right, with Star Wars. Episode 9 coming around the corner. JJ's back. I've actually had some discussions with some folks that work over at Disney, and there seems to be a very positive vibe around the Disney folks about JJ coming back and stuff like that. So I think that this movie is going to be great.
Yeah,
I really do. I have like really high hopes for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be, I'm hoping for like kind of like a Star Trek type of vibe that everybody was really kind of like the first Star Trek.
The
everybody
2009 version.
Yeah,
JJ's.
Yeah, everybody was into it. Everybody liked it. I'm hoping for a little bit of that. But last night we saw The Bells.
Right.
Episode of Game of Thrones.
Yep. Episode 5, season 8.
Yeah.
The second to last ever
Yeah.
for Game of Thrones caused a little bit of divisiveness online, which shocked me. I'm not going to lie. Fernandez and I did appear on the upcoming What the Throne with Dennis and Ashley, where we did share our thoughts on that episode.
Rule the Throne.
Rule the Throne? Oh, yeah, that's what we were calling it because it was a little mashup episode. So you can check that out for our in-depth thoughts there, as well as the latest Collider Live, where we did a lot of deep dive on that as well. I was shocked. I loved this episode of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And my love for Benioff and Weiss is only going deeper. And you've seen the title here. Are they a right fit for Star Wars? My answer is absolutely. What is your take on this? Because I saw it start to travel. The divisiveness of Game of Thrones started to travel over into Star Wars, saying, oh, great. Lucasfilm is now, they hired Rian Johnson. They didn't like him. See, these are, some of the thoughts I've seen out there. And now they're doing the same thing with Benioff and Weiss. I've seen a mix on Twitter. I've seen it here in the chat of people saying they're not a right fit and no, and they're going to ruin it like Rian Johnson. Or the other side of it is nope, they're perfect. Can't wait.
So for me, it all comes down to, like we talked about on the last show, and I'll echo that sentiment again today, is that where's the source coming from? I believe that that's a very, very important factor. I think if given good source material or good direction on where to go with it, I think that they could do a really good job. But with Game of Thrones, they had the ultimate source material, which is this masterwork of fantasy by George R.R. Martin.
Right.
And just the way that George R.R. Martin's brain works is like 1 in a billion. Similar to George Lucas, right? George Lucas's source material is absolutely, astounding. I think that some of the legend stuff that Lucas put out there, the Old Republic and a lot of these other things, are also fascinating. So because one of the critiques that I've seen online, and I think it's fair critique, is when Dan and Dave have done their own thing, you get Wolverine Origins. Even though that has source material too, right?
The comics, right?
Yeah, the comics. And I'm not sure what else they've done. I've heard that they also did. Didn't they also do? What else has Benioff and Weiss done? I'm forgetting it right now. They did. If you do a quick IMDb on it.
Let me look. Yeah, I got it up here. I know David Benioff. I was a very big fan of his writing career leading up. I know he did, write some of the stinky X-Men Origins Wolverine, but I believe I'm trying to find it here. Some of the stuff that he did. Troy, he did Troy, which is, Troy is fine.
Troy, what the Wolfgang Peterson film?
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Stay, it looks like he did The Kite Runner. I want to say he wrote a book that I'm trying to find it, that really got me, and I can't find it because we're live and I want to keep this thing going rather than look here.
And I'm seeing some comments here in the chat, and thank you all for showing up to the live chat. We're going to try to do this as much as possible, try to interact with you guys. So we're going to be reading a lot of your comments from the chats. There's a comment here that I've seen again and again, is that Benioff and Weiss's writing decisions are being questioned ever since they strayed from the books, from the George R.R. Martin books. So today, a report came out. I'm not sure if it came out today or if it's been out for a while, but today it became a thing where the guy who played Barrister, whatever his name is, the Knight, the actor, came out and said that George R.R. Martin has actually finished books 5 and 6. I believe it's 5 and 6, or is it book 6 and 7?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's either 5 or 6 or 6 or 7. Gotcha. Yeah. You got me.
Yeah. You guys drop it in if you know.
Yeah, so
we don't know everything, even though we look like it.
That the books have actually been finished, but that HBO and George R.R. Martin came up with a deal that said that he wouldn't release the books until the series ended, right? Potential spoilers, which means to me that George R.R. Martin actually has laid out the overall narrative trajectory of where A Song of Ice and Fire is headed, which I'm going to guess is going to be very similar to the overall big story points that the show took. i.e., spoiler warning if you haven't seen the latest episode of Game of Thrones. You know, I hate to say this, but drop off now because we will be getting into spoilers of Game of Thrones episode 5 and this whole season. But that they will follow the big beats, Dany, becoming the Dragon Queen and the Mad Queen.
The Mad Queen.
And all these things. So I don't know how much that argument is or how much it holds water for me anymore, given this latest report that they're straying from the material and having to come up with everything on their own. I think they actually have a pretty good scaffold that they got from George R.R. Martin.
I'm with you 100%. I never bought that these guys would be able to take over, i.e. take ownership of characters created by George R.R. Martin and then just do whatever they wanted to if HBO was writing the check. I didn't buy that for a second. I knew George R.R. Martin was very closely involved with the show. He's even talking about all the prequels that they have in development. He's followed George R.R. Martin. He's a wealth of inside news from what's going on these. He
loves to spill the beans.
He loves to spill the beans. Not for a minute did I think. And probably better than me in this business that we're in, is that when he creates Game of Thrones, the book, he owns those rights and the characters. And so he's then going to sell that to HBO to make something, correct? So they're going to have to – he has the final say on these characters. Now, if HBO said, listen, if you haven't finished these books, sign on the dotted line here that you're okay with us traveling outside of your books and your own story, and we're going to finish these things the way we want, that's a whole other story. But I don't see that for 1 second. I think they have the map that George R.R. Martin gave them, and that the characters were all going to do this by design from George R.R. Martin, and they've been following it, and that we're going to get the books, and you're going to be able to get inside the characters' heads for a lot more meaning, a lot more – what's the word I'm looking for? You're going to understand a lot more of this story through the books, because the books are always, a lot, depending on what the book is, better than the movie or TV series in question. But I never bought that. And so therefore I look at Benioff and Weiss as being still great filmmakers that are going to crush the Star Wars movie if they've been doing if they do anything like they've done on Game of Thrones for 8 seasons, people. They've been doing this and entertaining us. I can't wait for their Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I forget how closely you're attached to the characters, to the books, to the whatever. Let's just look at last night's episode in a vacuum, okay?
Let's do it. That's a great idea.
Let me see in the chat. We got 661 people watching right now, better than we did last week. So thank you all for tuning in. And we're going to have a free-flowing discussion, so let's just roll with it. But let me see. People, raise your hands out there. How many of you folks saw the episode last night? I want to see if there's some crossover here. How many of you guys watching here? Just raise your hands. How many of you saw the episode last night? Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, I bet a lot of them, man. We do get the delay, so we'll be able to get
the delay.
That's okay.
But let's just look at, cinematically speaking, this episode last night was, I thought, incredible.
Oh, this is beautiful.
I thought it was incredible. I thought that there was incredible. Yep, everybody good.
You've all seen it.
All right,
saw it. Me, yeah, I did. Don't watch Game of Thrones. Okay.
So we're all in the same convo. This is what's the beautiful part about doing this show live, is that it's rule of 2, but it's rule of 2 with the rule of 2 army.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's the army. It's us. We're talking about it. But this episode to me was one of my favorite episodes of the entire series.
Same.
Because there was a moment where Tyrion is looking at the bell, right? Like in the entrance of King's Landing.
So good.
And all he wants is for the bell to ring so that they declare that they've given up the city, that you come in and that you can take the throne without having to walk through a river of blood, right? That's what Tyrion wanted.
Yeah.
And there's such great I mean, this is like Sergei Eisenstein, Battleship Potemkin. This is like The Untouchables, Brian De Palma. These great moments of tension, right? In Battleship Potemkin and in The Untouchables, the
baby stroller going down the
baby
steps.
stroller scene, right?
Ennio Morricone's great score.
Yeah, like I'm seeing that level of craftsmanship when you see Tyrion looking up at the bell. No one's talking.
No.
All you hear is ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell. Like just like the entire city pleading for their life.
Yeah.
And then you have Jon Snow with the Northern Army and the Unsullied and the Dothraki looking at the Lannister army because the Golden Company didn't do a damn thing. I mean, like that kind of frustrated me a little bit. But the Golden Company didn't do anything, you know. And then you have Jon Snow looking at these people. They're not even looking. They're not talking. No one talks. And you're communicating a lot.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the beauty of what cinema can bring you, sight and sound. And they drop their swords. They give up. But Daenerys can't deal with it. And she goes off on her thing that she is the Mad Queen.
Oh, yeah.
No one's there. No one loves her. They only fear her, so let it be fear.
Yeah.
And I think that all that stuff, to me, was very, very, very well constructed. And if Benioff and Weiss are the creative forces that are pushing all of these, 1,000 points of light towards this one singular focus of telling a story in that sophisticated a manner, then you know what? I'm all in on these guys.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I love this idea of looking at it in a vacuum, so as you put. Yeah. Because it's entitled The Bells, and just for the symbolism of that, we talked a little bit on What the Throne, the bells of death, the death bell. Like
the bell tolls. When the bell tolls.
When the bell tolls, And I know, a lot of people are like, well, Benioff and Weiss didn't direct that episode. Miguel Sapochnik
he did a great job. I think they wrote it, though.
They did write it. Yes,
they
did write it. So, and I don't think Benioff and Weiss are going to be directing these Star Wars movies. Yeah. I think they're going to write them.
So, huh?
Nope. I think they're going to write them, and I think they're going to produce them.
I think Rian Johnson might be directing them.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. But Rian Johnson is also reportedly writing his own trilogy and might only direct one of them. And then we've heard from your own boy, we said this last week, we've heard that they're working together to plan out the next 10 years of Star Wars and somehow connect their trilogies together, whether that's shared universe a la Marvel, whether that's themes that could travel across galaxies and eons and time, and who knows. But my favorite comment through this thread was, how can you judge these guys when you haven't even seen the movie? When you haven't seen the Star Wars movie that they're doing? If they come out with their Star Wars movie, they write it, let's say they direct it.
But that's not fair necessarily. You can
judge their work.
You can judge their work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. But how do we not know? But I still stand by that statement, because how many directors, writers have stinkers?
I mean,
it happens all the time.
There's very few that don't have a stinker.
Right.
I mean, even I don't love the Jackie Brown movie. Everybody
and that's one of my favorites.
That's one of your favorites.
Yeah. And I mean, Steven Spielberg made 1941 after Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
With Belushi, and that's a friggin' classic.
Belushi.
But he also made The Terminal, which I think is like
my
full-on abomination.
My point illustrated.
Yeah.
Is everybody, the greats, have all had some kind of, not stinker, but some kind of movie that didn't land like their other movie, and people get second chances. And I'm not even saying these guys. I will say this: it boggles my mind. I do not get how that. The thing that is really frustrating to me personally is the vitriol going at Benioff and Weiss off of last night's episode, calling them bad writers.
I thought last night's episode was excellent.
I know.
I mean, there's stuff in there that's frustrating.
Sure.
But that's kind of, and like I tweeted this, to me it felt like the most George R. R. Martin episode this entire season.
Yeah. Especially Danny's turn for me.
Yeah.
That felt straight up George R. R. Martin, because this thing, and I said it on there, it's like, when can we ever call exactly what's going to happen? I'm not a big Game of Thrones book sweaty. I'm going to remedy that. I would like to read the books after the season concludes, but I just don't understand how you could take that, and especially last night's episode. Not only the writing, which I think top notch, some of the best writing I've seen in the whole series. The Tyrion and Jaime scene was the standout for me.
Jon Snow and Daenerys scene.
Jon Snow and Daenerys scene. I even loved Cersei and Jaime's scene. Just the idea, the pacing of it. Then you get to the cinematography, the tension. You brought up the bells and them waiting, and you hear one voice, ring the bell, ring the bell.
Right.
Just everything seemed to click for me. So I don't understand then calling that bad writing or this is shit or whatever you want to say it is, because do you know how hard it is to write these episodes? Do you know how hard it is to make these things, to give you 8 seasons of love and that you are loving all these episodes last season maybe, and maybe this one came up short for you. That's your prerogative if it didn't work. But to call it bad writing, I mean, I personally, maybe it's because I identify more as a writer where I go, if that's what they're calling bad writing, then I must look like a shithead.
I think that they're maybe calling it bad writing in context with other episodes, in context with the overall arc.
Of course they are. I get that.
Yeah. And
but
like
it's
for me,
knee-jerk. It's this like, oh, I have to attack them on Twitter that drives me bonkers.
But look, let me go to a positive. One thing that I really liked about last night's episode that gives me hope that these guys are going to do a really good job with Star Wars is how Benioff and Weiss handle special effects integration. Maybe not where you thought I was going in.
Because I have another one.
Yeah, and save it because I want to talk about it. But the way that they handle the special effects integration, I thought last night was done so incredibly well, because we all know that this is shot in Croatia and somewhere in the like in that area. I'm not sure exactly.
I don't exactly know either,
but somewhere around there. There's a shot that you get of the Golden Company, okay? And you get the Golden Company and you get their sort of general, and it's a shot where you see enough to make you understand, oh, okay, there's a bunch of soldiers. And then it cuts back to the entire thing where you see all of the soldiers and you see all the scorpions. And it's just like they integrate this like practical thing with the CGI enhanced scenes so incredibly well. The way that the Red Keep is obviously a CGI model is so well integrated, and like they take such detail in giving you the macro and the micro, macro and the micro. They have a really good understanding of how special effects affects storytelling.
Yeah.
I think a much better understanding of how special effects affects storytelling than, let's say, Rian Johnson. And I know you love The Last Jedi, but to me, there was a lot of like uninteresting use of special effects in The Last Jedi. That what the fuck was that?
Well, the table is going again.
Oh, God.
This is what the table does.
Yeah, the table almost went.
Yeah, the table. That would have been great.
That would have been.
We're live, and we lost
We're
the
doing
table.
it live. Fuck it.
Can we finally get that round table I've been asking for the Reilly round table? Because this thing is a piece of shit. But I go back to your point, because I'm with you on this, because they have a great.
Some people are going to say good CGI equals great movie. LOL. Let's take a step back, guys. Okay, and we got almost 800 people here in the chat, so we got a really lively discussion.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that the legacy of Star Wars is built around how these special effects that ILM architected were instrumental in telling this story. They're instrumental in telling the story. So if you're going...
Hit it on the nose right
If you're going into Star Wars as a filmmaker and you don't understand how important the special effects are in Star Wars, then it's like eating the Big Mac without that little bread in the middle, okay? Or without the special sauce. You're missing, with those little tiny little diced onions. It is a mechanic that's instrumental in telling the story of Star Wars.
I love that you're bringing that. That's absolutely right, because we can't go down the street and cast a Rodian because they don't exist.
Right.
So we have to use and sometimes rely on special effects. Now, the way you use it is, I think, what people are referencing here.
And like George Lucas had a language, right? Like you get to a planet, you see the planet, you see the ship rolling in, you see the wide shot of the the planet's surface, the city. It's in a swamp. Is it a this? There's a language of how he uses the special effects to show you and contextualize the environment and the world, and it's an incredibly important part of the storytelling. So good CGI does equal good movie if it's done correctly in service of the story. But man, like Game of Thrones does such an amazing job from the first episode till last night of integrating special effects, both practical and CGI, into creating this world that we're all convinced is real.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all convinced it's real.
I totally agree. You want to know what makes me happy for Benioff and Weiss doing a Star Wars? There was a scene last night that I felt that that's why, again, I'm shocked that some people are like, oh, I don't want them, because there was something that that happened in that episode where I'm like, this is straight out of Star Wars, and really, it's like almost like their audition piece, like going, hey, everyone.
Clegane?
What's that?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The Mountain and the Hound.
Yeah, the Clegane Bull.
Yep. Come on.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a Jedi and a Sith coming face to face with the stakes that important, with the world burning around them, and not feel something?
Hints of the Revenge of the Sith.
It was I was exactly where I was going. Yeah. Hints of Revenge of the Sith. Even, I mean, the mask, like the mountain just coming down there and being this god-awful looking creature thing, taking the mask off. It felt like a little wink from Benioff and Weiss and the director as well, going, we can do some Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved every second of that fight, including the climax of it, and where the Hound basically went, this is the only way.
Look, fire again, right? Like
fire again.
Like another Revenge of the Sith thing.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's look here. Let's take some questions, and I want to take questions from all the detractors. We got a couple of people here in the chat that are saying that some rather what's the word? Harsh things about us, which is fine. I mean, this is what it's all about, right? We're here to have a discussion, constructive criticism. Again, we're the loyal opposition. We all want the same thing, I hope, or else you wouldn't be in this chat, which is a good Star Wars movie.
We want. I just want to enjoy myself in the theaters, and if it's Star Wars, even better. And I can't wait for this. But so, who are some of the people that you're looking at that you would like to really hear them? Now, there's harsh, there's trolling, there's being disrespectful, there's all that. So let's keep it fair.
We don't have a ton of trolls in here. We don't have a ton of trolls, which is good. Another happy landing. We don't have a ton of trolls.
Blue ice cream, Big Mac. I love it.
Let's see. Why don't you pick a question? But you know what? Just to sum up our little rant there, I think Benioff and Weiss are very good choices for Star Wars. It's not my top choice.
It's not your top choice?
No, I have a new top choice.
Okay.
I have a new top choice. If I could pick anybody, and I actually want to go back to that point that you said that you don't believe Benioff and Weiss are directing the movies. And I want to ask you who you think will direct the movies.
Yeah.
I think it might be Rian Johnson, even though I don't necessarily want it to be Rian Johnson. I think it is Rian Johnson.
You know what? I don't want Rian Johnson to direct Benioff and Weiss's stuff. I think if you want to get me excited, really, bring the director from last night. Call him up to the big leagues. I thought we've seen this with Neil Marshall. We've seen this with certain directors like, I know, who is it? I can't. Went right out of my. I know. I can't even pull it. So, I'm moving on. Hey guys, in the chat, ask me some questions. I will grab them. We can get there. But I do see inconsistent character actions arcs, are why people are saying it's bad writing. More correct term is probably rushed. This is something we bring up.
This is actually a very good point.
It's a great point.
It's a great point.
And thank you for that, Michael Lee.
Yeah, Michael Lee brings up a great point.
We hypothesized this, is that we wondered if this season of Game of Thrones was 10 episodes, And still about the same length, that they were some longer than others, some shorter than others, but we get 10.
You can allow the exposition to unfold in a more natural way.
And I don't have an answer as to why Game of Thrones, the last season, decided that it was only 6
The
episodes.
last 2 seasons, right?
Was it? Yeah, the last 2.
The one before was 7, I believe.
You're right. I think it is. Let me look. I'm here on the page now.
7.
And you're right, by the way. Somebody jumped in 6 and 7 books.
6 and 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting to me is the idea that, you know, if you had more episodes, maybe you had more time to breathe with the characters. Maybe you would have understood Danny's motivation a little bit more, seen it coming, tracked it a little bit. For me, I liked it because it surprised me, and I like being surprised when I'm watching movies and television. I like to have my, you know, expectations subverted, and I know that's a saying that a lot of people don't like, especially when it comes to The Last Jedi, because that's partly the reason I love it so much is like, wow, this is like a Star Wars movie I haven't seen before. And then if we get to, I want to get to season 7 was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're right.
Yeah, 7 episodes.
So when you have more episodes, you can have a little bit more time. A movie is a whole different beast. You know, you have 2 hours.
Yeah, you have so many characters in Game of Thrones that like you need to like give them their moment, and like I get it. Like it is rushed. It does feel rushed to me, and like I'm going to agree with that. I don't know if that is a direct reflection on whether or not these guys are good showrunners, executive producers, talented, whatever.
Right.
Because look, at the end of the day, in a movie, you only have 2 hours. You know, so you know it's and this is this epic tale. But I want to go back to the director topic because I also agree with you that I don't think they're going to be directing it either.
Yeah.
So it begs the question: who will be directing it? Right.
That's a good conversation. Let's go down that road.
So,
and I want to see it in the chat. If you have, and this could be Rian Johnson's trilogy if it's happening still. It could be Benioff and Weiss's trilogy. It could be just who you would want to see do a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Throw it out there and keep asking some questions. Steven Spielberg trilogy, my God, I'd love it.
I'd love that too. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great. It's not my number one choice.
It's not my number one choice anymore either. I think Spielberg is past the time for his Star Wars.
Yeah. I think he would only do it, I think, if he was working in tandem with Lucas. You know, like him and Lucas, like really, really in there. Okay, so my number one pick right now, and this is not Prisoner of the Moment, this is just how good this friggin' movie was. And I would say even better, for me, a better choice than Denis, Villeneuve. James Cameron, that's another level. And like James Cameron, I get that somebody just put that up there. For me, Russo Bros, I think this one's better. Chad Stahelski.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Man, you guys out there in the Brulitude land, man, you guys are in for a treat with this John Wick 3 movie.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Reilly hasn't seen it, so I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything like that because obviously the movie's not even out yet. I saw it. It is absolutely incredible. It is incredible. It is one of the best blends of sort of like art and action that I've ever seen. It's on the level of Mad Max Fury Road, in my opinion.
Wow.
Be able to combine those kinds of things.
Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible. And this Chad Stahelski, I think I'm saying his name wrong.
I think it's Stahelski.
Chad Stahelski.
Probably. I don't know, but I know who you're talking about. The director of John Wick 2 and 3.
Yeah, and 1.
And one, I think he co-directed with.
Because like this dude, I was so into this movie that I had to go back and watch the other two.
Great, yeah.
So I mean, of course I've seen the other two before, but I had to go back and watch them again just to see like what like Jesus, like is this really that much better? And he directed the first one, he gets solo credit in the version that I have. So he directed all 3. This third one is by far the best one, in my opinion. And that's what I want in a Star Wars movie. I want that sort of Greek odyssey, that hero's journey, right, blended with the incredible action that's made possible by special effects, fight choreographs, got choreography,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So he's my number one choice. Who's your number one choice?
My number one choice has been this choice for a very long time now, and it is Denis Villeneuve.
Okay, a lot of folks in the chat agree with you.
Is that great? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Let me
yeah.
go up to the chat again because I'm going to pull some of these. Here we are. Christopher Nolan is a great one. Denis Villeneuve. Martin Scorsese.
Nobody likes my choice because no one's seen John Wick 3.
Right.
If you guys, once you see John Wick 3, and I am so sad that I won't be here for that episode, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This guy is special.
And it's interesting to think about a director directing a Star Wars movie, and for me, there needs to be some boxes that are checked. And one of them that continues to pop into my mind, and we thought it was going to happen, but he is already in the Star Wars universe, so I don't know if that's going to rule him out, but I think if he wants it, it's his. Jon Favreau. And I look to the original Iron Man as the reason.
But he's going to get the he has
the Mandalorian.
He's got the Mandalorian. So,
right. But can he do an actual movie?
I don't think they'd give him. Or maybe they would. Maybe I'm totally wrong.
Because
he's doing Lion King, right?
He's working on the Lion King, so he's already at Disney.
Yeah.
I just look at Iron Man, the original movie, because there are certain things in Star Wars that I like, that I want in my Star Wars. Great action, a great story, great characters, humor. Great special effects that we've talked about. And I think he checked those boxes with Iron Man because he gave us something that was, a heroic journey, a really good character arc for Tony Stark.
So is that your number one choice?
No,
Favreau?
no, Denis Villeneuve is.
Okay, Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, but Favreau keeps jumping in my mind.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you my number two. We're going to go back and forth.
Okay.
Right here, okay?
All right.
Chad Stahelski's my number one.
Okay.
I'm sticking to it. Like, out of everybody, Chad Stahelski's number one. My number two choice.
Okay.
To direct Star Wars. If I could pick anybody right now, Matthew Vaughn.
That's a good one.
Matthew Vaughn. I mean, he's stuck in this whole Kingsman thing, and he's kind of like James Cameron with Avatar.
Yeah.
But this is such a talented guy, and he's obsessed with the Kingsman. I know not a lot of people loved Kingsman 2. I thought it was absolutely great. But I love, again, you take those three things that you need to know how to do. Create story, create journey, create a hero's story, be able to understand that part of it. Understand the fighting action elements that are so important. That's the one thing that I don't think Rian Johnson, in my opinion, I hate to keep bashing on The Last Jedi, I just don't think Rian Johnson understands action on that level. I don't think even J.J. Abrams understands action on that level.
I agree. I somewhat agree with you. I mean, but I understand what you're saying. There are different directors that have different styles. You're talking Vaughn, who has...
He's got style coming out of his ears.
Yes, he does. So I love that pick.
And the Russo brothers, who people keep mentioning also, the Russo brothers, I think, are a very, very good choice. But let's not forget, who was the fight choreographer? God, I always say that wrong. Choreographer.
Yeah.
Who was the fight choreographer for
Civil War
and Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Stahelski and the other one.
Yeah, well,
I
the
can't
other
remember.
dude. The other dude.
My brain is mush today.
Yeah. But the point is this Chad Stahelski guy gave a little bit of that flavor that we love in Civil War, that we love in Winter Soldier to those franchises by making such incredible action stuff. Matthew Vaughn, my second pick. Your second pick is Favreau?
Nope, I just brought it up because I liked. I wanted to get to the certain boxes.
Okay.
And Favreau was there. Just seemed to because I could point to Iron Man. Alfonso Cuaron.
Yeah, but now you're getting into some fucking real deep shit.
Yeah. Alfonso Cuaron is my second pick, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Gravity, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
It's my favorite Harry Potter.
Yep, mine too. Roma.
Yep.
Children of Men. These are movies that I could see pieces fitting into a larger narrative in a larger universe and really hitting something special.
Do you think he would ever touch something like that?
I think he would, based off Harry Potter. Yeah, I think he would do it. I don't know if they would ever reach out. I don't know if it's ever on his radar. I know that we've heard sources have said Guillermo del Toro was chased out of the building because he wanted to do a Star Wars movie, and creative differences stopped that. And I think that had more to do with maybe Solo and the lack of performance there, because we heard it was a standalone spin-off, whatever you want to call it. So I just love Alfonso Cuaron so much. His work just speaks to me in a way that is beautiful.
Yeah. No, first of all, that's a tough pick to argue against, because his films are so friggin' good.
They really are. There's something deeper there, and he can play with special effects. And again, the perfect template is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That guy came in, and he injected a little bit of darkness in there to kind of mirror what's going on with the kids. And then in the story, the kids are starting to go. They're getting older. They're starting to hit some puberty, and and like Voldemort is this big presence.
It's great.
That's there. So yeah.
And for me, my third one, and we'll only do three.
Okay, three is good. All right.
My third one, George Miller.
I saw that just as you said it, that passed. I think, Miss Ingno.
Yeah.
Had George Miller.
And I'm with you with
this. It's a good one.
Because, and again, those elements, the poetic narrative odyssey, the action, combining it in a world that you need special effects to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are three important skill sets that not a lot of directors have that on their resume. And I think all the three ones that I picked, have it. Like they're able to work within that world. Obviously, to me, there's also the Wachowskis, and I think the Wachowskis would do a really good job with it. But the Wachowskis are so stylistic and so unique in their style that I don't think that they can give up some of that personal signature for the greater good. Mm-hmm. So I would probably err away from the Wachowskis, because that would worry me that they'd make it too Wachowski.
Yeah.
And before you know it, like the Sith are like walking around in leather and like
walking along the walls, running across the wall with their lightsaber.
Yeah.
I'm with you. What was my point? To that point, I know that there are movies out there that have defined us.
George Miller is getting up there in age. I think he can still direct.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of people are saying that he's way too old.
Well, then the person that suggested John Carpenter, I would say he's a little old for that, because there is a thing. There is nostalgia that can kind of color our opinions there. And John Carpenter, and I don't know your name, and I know you listed Big Trouble in Little China and Maybe They Live. Those are great. Like, if I could pluck, Carpenter back in the 80s for a Star Wars movie, I think that's pretty fascinating. What?
You know what? Somebody just brought up a director who I might, even though I loved Mad Max Fury Road so much, and it was such a good movie, somebody brought up a director here who I actually think I'm going to change my third pick.
Okay, because I have my third, but maybe I don't know. Go for it.
Kathryn Bigelow.
That was mine.
Oh, that was yours? All right, so it's yours.
And I've said Kathryn Bigelow before, people laugh me out of the building.
On the record.
Because
she's got all three things.
She's got all three things.
Yeah.
You tell me that the woman that did Point Break,
yeah, incredible movie.
Zero Dark 30,
incredible.
The Hurt Locker, even Strange Days.
Strange Days, incredible.
You can see
Detroit,
and I finally saw Detroit, and I thought it was wonderful, and I can't believe it didn't get more recognition when it came out.
Yeah, amen.
But if you take a little bit of the fun and fancy-free filmmaking that we had in Point Break, and you add a little bit of the stakes and the darkness of Zero Dark 30, give me that Star Wars film. And Lisa, I did see you there. Lisa, I really much appreciate you. Yes, we do need a female director to come in on this Star Wars
and it's
here.
Kathryn Bigelow.
Yeah.
Kathryn Bigelow transcends gender. I think she transcends gender.
Yeah.
Because it's not like she's going to make like a film that's obviously X or Y. Kathryn Bigelow might be one of the best directors out there.
She's great.
I mean, she is incredible.
And Lisa, your other pick, I love Patty Jenkins as well. I think Patty Jenkins will be a great director for a Star Wars movie based on No Man's Land from Wonder Woman alone. That was one of my favorite scenes. Talk about utilizing not only special effects, but when you have a score, when you have a fantastic composer to add to it, like in
Wonder Woman score is like my second favorite.
Rupert Gregson Williamson comes in, or Williams, I should say, comes in and adds this beautiful music to Wonder Woman going through no man's land and knocking bullets out of the way and taking Germans out. Come on.
Yeah,
that's a good pick, too.
I would pick Kathryn Bigelow over Patty Jenkins.
I would, too.
I would pick Chad Stahelski over Patty Jenkins. If you told me Chad Stahelski and Kathryn Bigelow, now that I really think about it, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because I think Kathryn Bigelow would never allow a bad Star Wars movie to come out.
Yeah.
Where I think Chad Stahelski would be so happy to direct a Star Wars movie that he could turn into a yes man. Where I think Kathryn Bigelow would do the old
one finger salute. You know what you need to do?
You know what? Kathryn Bigelow might be my top choice. No, you know what? She's not. Chad Stahelski's my top choice because that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
And
that's what
I would trust Bigelow more to like not get, seduced by the mediocre side.
I'm gonna ask a question for clarification. Strategy King, who is in the chat room, saying that Kathleen, so should cement the death of Lucasfilm with a Bigelow hire. And I don't understand that. I wonder how and why you feel that way. So please elaborate.
Yeah,
Kathryn
Bigelow.
Surefire failure, says Strategy King. Please elaborate, because I'd like to know.
Of Kathryn Bigelow?
Yeah.
Oh man, I think you're wrong about that.
Yeah, I'd like to hear you elaborate as to why.
Yeah, I mean, especially Strange Days is such a good film.
Strange Days, again, and I go to Point
Hurt
Break.
Locker might be the best.
Hurt Locker won the Oscar, won her an Oscar.
Top 5 war films ever made.
And beat Avatar for Best Picture. And Hurt Locker is fantastic. And I know when she came off of Hurt Locker and did Zero Dark 30, Zero Dark 30 pulls me in every single time. So, I'm not seeing the chat move. So Strategy King, if you do want to put it up there, let me know, because you have the mic right now.
Yeah, Strategy King.
If it's a surefire failure,
step up.
Put your cards down. Let's see what you're holding.
So first of all, before we get to Strategy King, if he ever wants to talk again, we're happy to hear. We want to have a discourse.
Yeah,
we got 837 people talking right now. We only have about 10 minutes left of the show.
Got about 10 minutes left here.
So let's get some more questions in there.
Yeah, and I loved seeing you guys. What big budget movie has Bigelow directed grossing over $500 million? Well, that's a different time, Strategy King. Point Break probably didn't make, I don't know what the lifetime gross was of that, but we're talking about movies with her, Zero Dark 30, Hurt Locker, Detroit.
Yeah.
These are all a little bit more smaller scaled movies, a little bit smaller budgets. And if you look at the grosses of those, Hurt Locker being a big movie, awards style movie, won the Oscar. I bet you it made a lot of money because versus the budget.
The thing about Kathryn Bigelow, and all her movies do very, very, very similar things, which is that they all dissect the nature of something, right? And a lot of people don't want to hear this because they're tough topics. But with Detroit, it was the nature or the origin story of sorts of the resentment that Black America has against white America, and where it's possible that originated post-slavery, right?
Yeah.
In Detroit, with the way that the police force interacts with the Black community, with how the cops treat people that are quote-unquote rioting. I mean, you can understand. She's trying to give you an explanation of why there's cynicism around that.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to swallow that stuff, okay?
Right.
With the Hurt Locker, she's trying to give you a sense of what's the nature of someone who loves war more than they love their family.
Right. Look at that end scene with Renner when it's
incredible.
Trying to pick cereal.
Yeah, spoiler warning, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry, guys. If you haven't seen The Hurt Locker, it's your own fault.
But I mean, that's what it's about. And then with Point Break, it's the nature of of being a criminal to the point where you stop thinking that you're a criminal. Mm-hmm. You know, like how that mentality even works. And granted, it's a little bit more fantastic, that movie, and it's a little bit closer to Star Wars, but imagine her being able to tackle the nature of the dark side.
It'd be very interesting.
It'd be very interesting.
I love that idea. And thanks you for the comment there, Strategy King. We'll move on from you now. If you guys want to ask some more questions, please give it up there. Near Dark. That's another example. I forgot about Near Dark. Kathryn Bigelow, have you seen Near Dark?
Which one? No,
it's a vampire. It's I haven't seen it in years, but that's a great pull.
Is it pre-Point Break?
It's pre-Point Break, I believe. If you guys know, and I missed you, sorry. I love you guys, the interaction here. Damien Chazelle, that's interesting. Maybe a little bit of romantic comedy in space.
Yeah, maybe like a movie about the cantina.
The cantina, yeah, a little La La Land.
Bad.
Yeah. Oogie. All right, so give us some questions here because we're about 10 minutes out from here. About 8 minutes, we're going to call it a day on this live version. It is episode 40, Rule of 2. We're thanking you guys for joining here. I love that. So,
guys, go watch John Wick 3. If you want that Star Wars fix, that Big Mac fix that we haven't gotten in a little bit, go check out John Wick 3.
Yeah, go check it out. I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
From here. Thank you, Kyle Gabrant, one of my boys. Thank you for this question. I want this. Here's the thing that I saw earlier in the chat. It's like, who's right to direct this thing? If you go away from, to use your example, the Big Mac, but how much can we go away from that? And can you play in genre in the Star Wars universe? So Kyle asked, do you want to see a horror type Star Wars movie? So can we do that in the Star Wars universe?
So there was one series of books, I forget what they're called, but they were about like these zombie stormtroopers.
Yeah, I think it was Death Trooper or something. Or not Death Trooper.
Something like that.
I know what you're talking about.
Great cover.
Yeah, there was like a hook in a stormtrooper mask.
Yeah.
I
never read it, so I have no idea. My gut tells me that Star Wars can support genre. I don't know if I just want them to get Star Wars right before they start exploring genre.
I'm with you. See, here's the thing. I don't think you can make a horror movie and say like they were going to try to do with X-Men with New Mutants, TBD on when that thing's going to come out.
Right.
Because they came out and said it's going to be a horror movie with the X-Men, right? And I went, yeah, sign me up. When you think about the history of X-Men, there's already little bits of horror elements there. We're talking body horror here, right? There are mutants out there that look a certain way that people could be afraid of. I think of Nightcrawler in X2, he was kind of ridiculed. He was kind of beat. He was, he was used against.
Empire has elements of horror in it.
Empire, and that's my point.
Yeah.
You can take elements within the genre of Star Wars, which you could kind of say is its own genre itself. It's created a wonderful fan base, really, who is so passionate about it. So I like the idea of horror elements in there. I mean, yeah, Empire had a lot of that. I mean, Luke in the cave fighting Vader, very horror. I think of the Minox scene when they go out and, it's like had some classic horror stuff. She sees something in the distance and then the jump scare. They go out there, they're walking, wait a minute.
Right.
Boom, shoots, and then they're in there.
Yeah.
But Fallen Son, Vader's story between episode 3 and 4, him hunting down Jedi, R-rated horror story. Well, you tell me that. I want to see that. That's
Right.
So I think you can play with genre tropes within the movie, but there are certain elements that you expect from a Star Wars movie. So I don't think we'll ever see, and to your point, Fernandez, I think you're right. Let's get what they're going for.
Yeah. Let's stabilize it a little bit.
Stabilize it. I agree with that.
Like not so much from a business perspective, because you always bring this up, and you're always right to bring this up, is that Star Wars with Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, Rogue One, and then Solo, they've been, for the most part, successful. Yeah. Actually, extremely successful. Mm-hmm. I think Endgame just knocked Force Awakens off of its perch as number 2.
Yeah.
Right?
But Force Awakens has a hefty lead domestic. Can you believe it? Force Awakens almost made $1 billion domestic. It's in the 900 and
so it
something.
hasn't knocked it off second place?
Second place all time, worldwide.
but
Yes.
not domestic.
Not domestic.
It's third domestic Endgame.
I think so. I'd have to bring up the thing. Yeah.
Anyway, there's been a lot of financial success with Star Wars. Let's not get it twisted because it's a fact.
Yeah.
There's been a little bit of divisiveness in the fan base, but I also think that there's also a little bit to be said about the fact that there's divisiveness in the fan base because you're talking about a fan base that spans 3 generations.
Right. Right. It's
3 different modes of thinking about the universe and the world and
such
morals,
a great point.
You know, and it's like, I'm an old man, okay? I'm just going to say it. It's embarrassing, but I'm 43 years old, okay? My nephew, who I held in my arms like a tiny little baby, when he was a fresh-born little baby, okay, is 22 years old now. Jack Hind, who's our head of brand partnerships, is 23 years old.
Yeah.
Dorian Parks is 24 years old, even though he tells people he's 38. And he might be 38, but in his thing it says he's 24 or 23, whatever it is. There's a huge gap between me and them.
right.
And then there's the next generation, right? Because forget the millennials, because they're in there too.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that tend to hate the prequels. Or actually, I'm not sure if that's true. Actually, my generation's the one that hates the prequels, right? Mm-hmm. Like whatever. But the point is that you're trying to coalesce generations to have the same opinions. It's not an easy thing to do.
It's not an easy thing to do. And listen, we're in a time right now where everybody has a Twitter account, and if you don't like something, you can go out there and say you don't like it. And there is divisions within these fandoms, within the Marvels, within the Game of Thrones now, within the DCs, within Star Wars. It's going to happen. I never have a problem with people not liking certain movies within these different fandoms. I always have a problem with, stop trolling, bro. Just talk to me like a human. You're going to go talk to your mother like that?
You call him out. I love that about you.
I will call him out every single time. I don't like it because I like to be treated with respect because I'm going to try to do the same thing with you. But I totally agree with that. So you can look that they're on uneven ground right now with their Star Wars movies because of The Last Jedi. Even though I love The Last Jedi, I can acknowledge some of its failures, to be quite honest, but I can also acknowledge that there are a lot of people that didn't like it.
There's people that absolutely love it.
And there are people that absolutely love it. So I can acknowledge all that.
A little bit.
Yeah, what's that?
It kind of boggles my mind a little bit.
Boggles your mind? Well,
anyway, but people are boggled that I love Revenge of the Sith so much.
Yeah, but we're not doing a Dumb and Dumber in Star Wars there. I'm with you there, Andy. But I think that it's just going to happen that you're going to have divisiveness within these big fandoms now because I think that, one, the movie industry has put us in that direction. Blockbusters are what sell tickets nowadays. Look at Disney eating up Fox and cutting their output down to half. Which sucks.
Do you think, actually, this is a total non sequitur, but do you think we'll get the bum ba da bum ba 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 bum ba da dum bum ba ba bum?
I don't think so. I don't think Disney is that generous.
Oh God, I'd love to see that again.
I would love to see it too, but I don't think Disney. I think Disney. It's Disney. They're like, we're not going to look down our nose at the Fox logo anymore.
I mean, it makes no sense that they would do that. It would make no sense that they would do that.
It would be weird.
Because they only show Lucasfilm now. They don't show even Disney.
It would be a weird, jarring thing.
Yeah, it's only Lucasfilm now.
Yeah, unless they do a little nostalgia day.
But man, every time I see that Fox opening, it doesn't matter what movie it's in front of.
God! Dude, like during the prequels when they came out in theaters, we'd lose our mind.
We'd go ape shit over that.
But anyway, what was my point? I'm trying to make a point here as we wrap this up because, I think there's always going to be divisiveness. But to your point, I agree. I think we need to get ourselves on a little bit of level ground here.
Before the genre
shifts.
Yeah.
Because my genre that I want is I just want a good Star Wars movie. I really do. Listen, I am so excited for The Rise of Skywalker. I cannot wait for this movie.
Me too, man.
And after that, when those credits roll, I'm going to be pretty bummed.
I also can't wait for that video game, and we're going to be doing
game Vader Immortal. I want to check out.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a review of Vader Immortal. The second we get our hands on it, we're going to do a review of Vader Immortal.
Yep.
We're going to do a review of Fallen Order.
Yep.
We're gonna try to get our asses over to Disney and check out Galaxy's Edge for you guys.
Yep.
I'm pulling strings, guys. I'm pulling strings. Help us out on Twitter.
Yeah.
Tag at Reilly around, at Marc Fernandez, at Disney, at Lucasfilm. Send these guys to Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
You know, Collider's covering it, but they didn't invite us. They invited other people from Collider, which is great, and I appreciate that.
I could have gone, but I was told.
I actually was going to send you.
You recommended me, but it's like there are the website writers that are going to do a better job with that article than me. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Even though I think you're a great writer.
Well,
so
thank
don't
you.
sell yourself short.
It's a little bit of a more of a process because they were really covering this thing, but they're only doing previews. So we want to see. Give us it all. I want to see and know.
Give us everything you got.
But yeah, I think just in general, after The Rise of Skywalker, no matter how it lands, and if it lands like a turd, you know, with some of these fans,
I don't think it will.
I don't think it will either. But I'm just saying, I've never gone the negative side of things. I'm always looking on the bright side of things. But if it does not do well, if it does hit a nerve like The Last Jedi did, they're going to have to really work even harder.
God, it'd be a disaster.
But get on some level ground here. Plan your 10 years of Star Wars so that we can be excited again when it's announced. And we don't know. We've always been speculating that it's Old Republic type stuff for Benioff and Weiss. But what if it comes out and it's just set years after The Rise of Skywalker?
Look, and I feel a little bit like Star Wars is analogous to King's Landing, in a way.
I like that.
Like we started out with this amazing vision of the future of Lucasfilm after the Disney acquisition, where it was all about a Star Wars movie every year. Okay, we've gone through this patch that's given us financial success for Lucasfilm and Disney. But some critical, like
Last Jedi and Solo didn't do as well.
And
I mean, let's be fair. I know I saw you in the chat. Yes, Solo did not do well. That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here. And I feel like we're in a little bit in the ashes of all of that. And us Star Wars freaks, okay? I'm a Star Wars freak. Riley's a Star Wars freak.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars is our thing. Like, as much as we love the MCU. And I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's my dude. And I love Superman. Superman's my dude. Like, they're not Star Wars to me.
Right.
You know? But us as Star Wars fan, right now, you got to say that Star Wars is the third franchise right now.
Yeah.
Right? It's no longer the protector of the realm and the seven kingdoms or whatever the hell it is. It's actually just like the warden of the North.
Yeah.
Like, we're just the warden of something. Because you have MCU, right? Then you have Game of Thrones, right? Like people even though that's kind of going through its own little thing right now.
DC's getting up there. Aquaman, $1 billion, man.
I think Star Wars is still bigger. Like
I agree. I agree.
But then you have Pokemon.
Pokemon did
lingering in there, right?
Well, I think everything's really based around Marvel right now because of what they did with Endgame and what it's doing in the theaters and. You know, but that's another podcast for another time. We are going to have to wrap this up right now because
somebody said it here. Sorry to interrupt you, but Air Pokemon Naruto. Last thing here, he called it a Star Wars recession. It's interesting.
Star Wars recession. I mean, look, if you like your Star Wars, you like your Star Wars. Like me, you know, it's like they're going to get it hopefully right for everybody. But here's the thing: I don't think even if Rise of Skywalker comes out and both of us love it.
Oh. God, sorry to keep interrupting.
Dude, if you want Fernandez to stop interrupting me, put your comments in here right now. I don't care. Go. What?
Something that we've missed out on, and people called us out last week.
Yeah.
And they were right to call us out.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm surprised no one's called us out this week, maybe because it's been so long already. But at Rule of Two, we've talked a lot about it off the air. We haven't discussed it on the air. And people called us out for it, rightfully so. And we appreciate the honesty, but we haven't given our respects on the show to Peter Mayhew.
Oh, yeah, I know. We missed that. We missed it on live as well. And I did share something on Twitter, but for Peter Mayhew to you can see it in the eyes.
Yeah.
You can see it in the eyes and you can see it in the emotions and to know Joonas is a wonderful replacement who will never have that je ne sais quoi for me with Peter Mayhew. And just watch the original Star Wars, A New Hope, and you can see why he became like an icon in that role. The height, the motions, the eyes, everything that he did.
Yeah.
It was very sad when he passed.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Peter Mayhew did do Force Awakens.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He did a few shots. Joonas did come in to take over.
He did take over.
Yeah.
But there was moments in Force Awakens, and I'm not sure who it was, if it was Peter Mayhew or not, but there was moments in there where I was like, wow, man, Chewbacca, like that's my Chewbacca, you know?
Yeah.
Like in the point where he's talking about Han and like he goes, I don't know. Like there's a few, to your point, there's a few of those emotive things that come out in Force Awakens that really reminded me how special his performance was in the original trilogy. And sure, you get him like in that one scene in Revenge of the Sith, but
yeah,
I mean, Chewbacca, it's like something that I'll never fully understand. You know, like that performance is very, very special. I never met him, but I saw him once at a Star Wars Celebration.
I did too. I never met him either. I go back to I wrote an original monologue in high school, and I was basically the Academy president trying to nominate Chewbacca for his performance in Empire Strikes Back. And there was some truth to that, because watch the scene when he's trying to put 3PO together.
It's great.
Bespin.
Absolutely great.
And you can see some of the most beautiful acting, dialogue. Acting is inhabiting a role, and he inhabited it. It was something beautiful. So rest in peace, Peter Mayhew.
And I did give him my respects on social media.
Yeah.
Closer to the point where it happened. But we didn't talk about it on the show. We got called out for it, rightfully so. We appreciate that. No talk about SC-38. You know what? That's actually a good thing. We didn't talk about that. We both saw it. We both loved it. I definitely tweeted out about it, and so did Reilly. Maybe next week's show, if everything works the way that I want it to work, there'll be somebody on the show who can actually speak to it in a much more intense way.
Ooh, that's a good tease.
Yeah.
That's a good tease. So we're going to end it there. That is episode 40 of Rule of Two. It's here on Collider Videos. We're going live for now, 5 p.m. PST on Collider Videos YouTube channel, and we are on Jedi Council's PodcastOne feed. You can get it there. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. You can find at Marc Fernandez there on Twitter, at Reilly around on Twitter as well. You guys are the best. That was a great time having you in the live chat, reading your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. It's going to be a good one. We'll see you next week. Fernandez, you'll be back in 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Enjoy your Sith business. And why don't you leave them something before you go?
Rise.